We have got, I think, only 3 more chapters. We're going to finish it up this week. All right. Chapter 20, Santa Comes Early, December 18th, 1944. You'll wear out that window, Mom teased as Hobie made his 10th trip through the front room. You don't think he got lost? Hobie asked. Marv wasn't from Seattle. He might have a hard time finding his way around. He'll be here soon. Mom straightened the collar on Hobie's shirt. Hobie ducked away before she could fuss with his hair. He had waited so long for this day to come, and now finally, Duke would be home. Away from the jungle, snakes and bugs and Japanese soldiers. Will Duke remember us? June asked. He'll remember. Hobie picked up a comic book, scanning the same page a dozen times. He knew Duke would remember them. What he hoped was that Marv wouldn't remember the letters, the ones asking for Duke back. That thought tugged at Hobie's spirits down as if it was an anchor that was heavy as the one on the Lily Bess. Just when he thought he might turn inside out with the misery of waiting, an old jalopy rattled to a stop in front of their house. They're here! Hobie tore out the door and down the steps, skidding to a stop at the curb. The driver's door popped open and Hobie stepped back. Even though he and Marv had been riding back and forth all this time, they were strangers. Hobie, Marv slid out from under the steering wheel and out of the car. Man, it's good to meet you. When he smiled, the scar across his cheek and eyebrow puckered, but that smile made Hobie feel at ease. Marv was old, 22. Sorry. 22 is not old. Marv was old, 22, but he looked younger than Hobie thought he would. Marv limped a few steps to open the back door. Here's the guy you've been really waiting for. Duke shook himself in the back seat, and Hobie's breath caught in his chest. Duke was thinner than when he'd left, more muscular too. His ears twitched when he saw Hobie, and his tail tick-tocked, but he didn't move. It's okay, Duke, Marv said. Go! At Marv's words, Duke bounded forward, waggling his long body and licking Hobie all over at the same time. A few tears snuck out. Duke licked them away. He sure is glad to be home, Marv said. Yeah, Hobie choked out the word. Mom stood on the porch, wiping her eyes with her apron. Come on in, you boys. I've got lunch already. Marv took steps, one at a time. Step, thump, step, thump. A ring of white formed around his mouth as he made his way up, but he didn't say a word. Hobie guessed that his leg must really hurt. A lot. Mom introduced herself and June, and they all went into the kitchen. Hobie had put Duke's blanket right by the stove in his favorite place, but Duke stayed glued to Marv's side. Hey, boy, no, Marv gestured with his hand. You can't be at the table. Caught sight of the blanket and told Duke down. Duke sighed, but padded to the corner, and after turning around 3 times, flopped onto the blanket. Ever since I took that bullet, he doesn't want to leave me alone, said Marv. The darn dog would follow me into the latrine if I let him. He's very loyal, Mom said, setting a big platter of sandwiches on the table, and that's only the half of it. Marv took one sandwich. Oh, take another, Mom said. You look like you could use some fattening up. Well, K rations will do that to you. Marv opened his napkin and various jungle ailments also. Hobie took a sandwich when the platter was passed his way. But he wasn't all that hungry. Will your leg get better? Hobie asked, peeling off the crust. Hobie! Mom scolded. She made a face that said, That's not a question to ask. It's okay, ma'am. Marv set down his sandwich. Good buddies can ask each other stuff like that, and me and Hobie are good buddies. He leaned forward. Let me put it away. The leg won't get any better. Let me put it this way. The leg won't get any better, but I'll get better at using it. Marv glanced over at Duke. If it weren't for that guy over there, I wouldn't be here at all. They all sat quietly for a few minutes. Hobie thought about what Marv had written him from the hospital, what Duke had done to protect Marv, and what he'd done afterward to staying with him, bullets flying until the medics came. Despite his own wounds, tears burned at the back of his eyes. He felt worse than ever about writing those letters. Mom poured Marv a cup of coffee. Dogs truly are man's best friend. You got that right, Marv took a sip. Duke, his buddies, sure made Uncle Sam proud. Hearing his name, Duke stirred. Hobie watched him, watching Marv. Duke's brown eyes tracked every move Marv made. That was delicious, ma'am, Marv said. Thank you so much. He turned to Hobie. Hey, buddy, you want to play some catch? They went outside, Duke on their heels, and tossed the ball back and forth. You got a good arm there, Marv told Hobie. He showed him how to get under a pop fly and how to scoop up a grounder. His bum leg didn't seem to hurt his catching skills. Mom called him in for dessert. Hobie hesitated. Can I ask another question, he said. Shoot. Marv rolled the ball between his hands. Mom had warned Hobie not to press Marv about what happened the day he got hurt, But there was something he wanted to know. You said the lieutenant gave the all clear. What made you know it wasn't all clear? I didn't know, Marv said. He tipped his head towards Duke, on the ground next to them, but he did. It was just like you told me. His ears perked up, and I knew there was trouble. Marv leaned over and scratched Duke's head. This guy saved a lot of lives that day. He sat up and looked at Hobie. You saved a lot of lives that day. Goosebumps broke out on Hobie's arms. What if he hadn't told Marv about Duke's warning signal? Who knows what would happen on that patrol? To Marv, to Duke, thinking about it made Hobie's hands shake. He tucked them behind his back so that Marv wouldn't see. Who would have thought that doing the right thing could be something as small as writing a letter? Writing a letter, Hobie swallowed hard. I wish I hadn't written those letters, he said. He couldn't even look at Marv. Marv nodded. I know. He winked. The bit about your sister was good, he said. Hobie's face burned. Hey, Marv tapped him on the shoulder. Forget about it. If you hadn't wanted Duke back, I would have thought there was something wrong with you. In the end, you did the right thing, Hobie. That's what counts. Savvy? He bent down to catch Hobie's eye. We're square, he said. More than square. Hobie met Marv's eyes. He could tell that he meant what he was saying. The anchor unhooked itself from Hobie's heart. Duke got up and stretched, head down, hind end in the air. Now, I've got a question for you, said Marv. Why do dogs run in circles? Hobie grinned. Because it's hard to run in squares. Marv chuckled. Well, I tried. Are you boys coming in? Mom called. For dessert? Yes, ma'am. Marv made his way slowly and stiffly back up the steps to the kitchen, where Mom had a huge slice of cake waiting for both of them. After the last crumb was devoured, Marv pushed himself off the chair, struggling to stand. Well, partner, this was a real nice day. I'm so glad I got to meet you and your family. Marv thanked Mom again for the lunch. I've got to take off for now. Some things to do in town, but I was wondering if I could come back tomorrow morning before I go home to Ohio. He rubbed his hand over his mouth to say goodbye to this old Duke here. Of course, Mom said. She wrapped up some sandwiches and cake and pressed those on Marv. But Marv was looking at Hobie, waiting for him to answer. Sure, he said, clearing his throat. Of course. Hey, Pard, there's something I completely forgot to tell you. Marv shifted to stand on his good leg. About Duke. Hobie caught his breath. Was Marv going to ask to keep him? And if he did, what would Hobie do? And Missy, Marv continued, even though Uncle Sam had a no fraternization, those two, he turned his head away from Mom and June and coughed. They met up. We think that it was sometime in Pearl Harbor. Marv scratched his head. The upshot is 6 puppies, spitting image of their dad. Puppies, June said. Yep, Marv winked. And there's a little girl named Duchess that will be going home with this soldier. He jabbed his thumb at himself. As soon as she gets out of quarantine. Hobie, are you crying? June asked. No, Hobie said. I got something in my eye. Marv tapped Hobie on the shoulder and then snapped off a salute. Semper Fi, buddy. He reached over and stroked Duke's head. Semper Fi. The Marine Corps motto. Semper Fidelis. Always faithful. Semper Fi. Semper Fido, Hobie blurted out. Marv laughed. You said it. He limped to the door and down the stairs. Duke followed. Marv pulled open the car door. Duke's nose was way inside, like he wanted to go too. Hobie froze. Should he call him? Let him come on his own? What if he called Duke and he didn't come? He felt like he was on the Lily Bess being tossed from side to side on stormy seas. Marv gave Duke a pat. You take care, buddy. Duke licked Marv's face. He hopped out of the car and ran to Hobie. Marv closed the door, his arm out of the open window. See you tomorrow. Duke barked. Then he dove under the rhodey bush, digging up a ball he'd left there, who knows when. He trotted up to Hobie, nudging the dirty ball into his hand. Hobie's heart felt like it might float right out of his chest. He was that happy. He ruffled Duke's fur. Then he took the ball, threw it as far as he could, and before it hit the ground, Duke snagged it. He trotted back, ball in mouth, ready for more, just like Hobie. All right. Big wuss. This is awesome. All right, chapter 20. That was chapter 20. We'll do chapter 21 later.